What's up YouTube, Dai here from Wargames, and today I am bringing you my joint first place Earth machine with a little bit of spice added in. So the reason we got joint first is I drew with first place, which was sprites. I was unable to get into Gustav Max when time was called. Regardless, the deck is still very powerful on itself because it has a nice combination of very big main deck boss monsters alongside generic starters that will get you going for your entire machine engine. The Vernusylphs are there to give you a little bit of extra oomph behind them, but it's just something I wanted to trial out and see how it went. With all of that out of the way, please smash that like button, hit that notification bell and subscribe so you don't miss out on any more upcoming content. With all of that out of the way, I'm going to take you head first into the profile and show you exactly what we've got. So you start off with triple gear frame. This is your ideal starter. However, if you don't get to him because it is a trigger on normal summon, your next best options would be your metal cruncher or your harvesters. Now these guys right here are your best targets to be getting off of the back of the Vernusylph engine, because both of these will trigger if they're normal or specialed. So being able to get these to the graveyard with Vernusylph, so for example if you open up Gear Frame plus any of these, it actually gives you a lot of capabilities and a lot of play, because you can use basically your Gear Frame as your normal summon to bait out an Ash or anything like that, and then of course you can activate your Vernusylph, which will send one of these to the graveyard, and then either let you draw a card or Foolish Burial another card as well, and then you're able to pretty much continue to play from there. Alternatively, if you don't open up your Gear Frame but you open up the Cruncher and Harvester, then again with a Vernusylph this can become a summon to search out the Gear Frame, and then your Gear Frame will also give you a setup as well, because you can summon this off the back of a Vernusylph. Then of course, continuing with the other machines, I am playing double Regulus with the one field spell. Arguably you probably play three field spell, three Regulus. The reason I went with a 2 and a 1 is I quite like the fact that with the Disc Colosseum, not only could I possibly protect my stuff, but I could also have the capabilities of recycling a Regulus in the grind game from the graveyard as well, which can be very important. For the other Infinite tracks, we are of course playing the Dozer, the Trencher, and of course the Tunneler, so the triple level 5s that you're going to need. Obviously your Dozer is summoned from deck, your Trencher is summoned from grave, and your Tunneler is banished spin 5 machines or earth those earth machines back to the extra deck or main deck to draw 2 cards. So it's pretty much your pot of avarice, I suppose. We've then got the one Anchor Drill with the one Gearbox, the one Unclasped, the one Fortress, the one Bullet, Derek Crane, Citadel, and Runeforce. Now you can see that we play a lot of one-offs, which can be a little bit damaging, but these are all single boss monsters. Like, you wouldn't want to put any of these, in my opinion, up to more than one, including these 3 here. Maybe Dozer, but even then, the idea behind all of these is you want to be sending them to the graveyard. So what you really want to do is you want to do your Gear Frame, search out your Unclass with then Foolish Burial, your Citadel, setting up your Raigeki in the graveyard, or it can send the Fortress if you've got enough materials. Then off the back of that you can make your Gear Frame, your Giga X. That can then search out a monster, or of course you can go, as long as you get a second Earth on the board, you can go into the Ancient Gearling monster, which will search you Box, and then Box can get you into Tunneler, Trencher, or Anchor as well. So there's just a lot of searching within the deck, which is why you need to kind of minimise your one-offs as where at all possible. The last little spice I added in is I did play the one Lithosagam. This is a little bit questionable, but the way I thought about it was, literally, it's a level 9, which can be very nice for my rank 9 plays, but off the back of that is if I do resolve it against Sprite or even against Tears, if I'm banishing 3 from their extra deck, that's goodbye to their kits and their Kaleido Hearts if I want them to be. I can also get rid of Gigantics and Elves, I can get rid of Toads, all of that stuff. It's a little bit more difficult for your opponent to try and recycle them and get them back into the game. So it does work incredibly well when you get to it. You could arguably play Terraforming, Set Rotation, Mystic Mine if you wanted to, alongside a Dragonic Diagram. So it's a lot for you to kind of play around with and think about, but it does give you a couple of options. For the Vernusylph engine, this is definitely going to change. So I played 2 of the Awakening Forest. one Fawning Mountains, and the one spell card. Now, obviously, the spell card basically means all Earth monsters you control are treated as Vernusylphs. And then once per turn, if you would discard a Vernusylph monster or monsters, and one card to activate the effect of a Vernusylph monster in your hand, you only have to discard the Vernusylph. Now, this is something I thought I'd trial out. I was like, oh, this could be really cool. If I get to this, I then only need to discard these. I don't need to discard a secondary card, but ultimately, I would get rid of this completely. You would probably swap it. You could either swap it for the Ultra Rare, which basically lets you search out. So all of the Vernusylphs have the same effect, that you discard the card, and then one monster or Vernusylph card, and then they'll have additional effects. So this one is you send one Earth monster that can be normal summoned or set from the deck to the graveyard, so it's basically a Foolish Burial. Then you can special on one Earth monster from your graveyard with a different name from that monster that you sent. So what makes that really important is it does let you bring back the card you discard, which is why if you're discarding a Harvester or a Metal Cruncher, you're getting a free summon basically. It does lock you into only being able to activate you can't activate non-Earth monster effects for the rest of this turn. But again, as you see, everything is Earth apart from the Mega Fortress, so you don't really worry about that too much. This one, when you discard this and another card, you get to special on an Earth monster from your graveyard, and then you get to draw a card as well. So I would either bump this to 2, or you'd play the other one, which is discard one and itself, and then you get to search out a Vernusylph. But the only reason you do that is it just fills up the graveyard a little bit more, and I kind of wanted to control like the discards. I didn't want to be discarding through Vernusylphs twice, because then technically you're discarding 2 cards plus the 2 Vernusylphs, so you would have discarded 4 cards in total, leaving you 1 card in your hand to play with, so you're then betting that everything you bring back from the graveyard is going to be effectively a trigger. So yeah, I'd probably go for 2 Fawning Mountains rather than anything else. The last monster that I played was the Gamma and the Driver. Now, the reason this is so good is in the main matchups, being able to Gamma like a Gigantic, or it's less effective against the tiers because they'll all start to trigger. But it's still very, very important, very, very powerful. Plus, when you're playing, you activate a lot of spells and a lot of cards that contribute for cost, or a lot of cards that will activate. So, for example, you activate your Vernusylphs, it's discarding itself and another monster. If your opponent then goes, ooh, that's 2 cards out of my opponent's hand, I'm going to ash them, you can then go, okay, cool. I believe you can Gamma, but because I think it's for the rest of the turn. Then special on one Earth monster from a graveyard with different. Also, you cannot activate non-Earth monsters for the rest of this turn. So I believe because you send them as cost, it's when the Vernusylphs have resolved, that's when it locks you in. So because it hasn't resolved, it just means you can't make Gamma off. Omega off of the back of it all, but you're still able to protect them with Gamma. So yeah. Then moving on to the spells, Triple Dark Ruler. I know you're probably going to be like, well, Droplet's going to be a lot better. But again, in the Vernusylph engine, because I've got that possibility of discarding cards, you need to be very, very careful. And I feel that Dark Ruler is just overall better to try and break an opponent's board. Especially with the tournament I was going to, I was expecting to be facing stuff like Splites, like Telements, and I feel that Dark Ruler is better. Yes, this deck can be good at baiting stuff out and then going for OTKs, but it does give you that option to Dark Ruler your opponent, clear off their board with all of your machines and everything else, and then put yourself in a position, because you're playing, or we're main decking Rivalry and everything else, to control the board from that point on. And because you've taken away as much of their resource as possible, it's then a lot more difficult for them to deal with 4K trains and everything else. Triple Redeployment, another way of protecting your stuff, but also being able to get to your gear frames and your starters and everything else. Double Heavy Forward, you can pay this at 3. Again, the reason I went with 2 of this is because I'm not playing a huge Infinitrack engine, but what I want to be searching off for this is mainly going to be Harvester, so it counts as 4 copies of Harvester, but then it can also cop, if I've already got the cards in hand, it can also count as the level 5s as well. 2 Urgent Schedules, you know, get your 10s and your lower levels from the deck, very nice and easy. Call the Grave, pretty straightforward on that one. Main deck of double Rivalry, double Imperm, and a single Mechanite Overdrive. If you wanted to make this deck more control-based, you can do. I've seen builds with Skill Drain, I've seen builds with Gozens and Rivalries. I just felt that with Rivalries, you're not going to be putting Fairies on the board, but whereas with Gozen, you might be going from Earths to Light in the form of Zeus, or Dark into the Mega Fortress. So, moving on to the extra deck, pretty straightforward and simple on this one. So, Zeus, Lebel, Gustav Max, Dora, Fortress, Earth Slicer, River Stormer, Pretty straightforward and simple on those ones, and then the Yugioh X. I then kind of made a meta call putting Abyss Dweller in because I know how effective it is against the tier matchup, and with a lot of tiers running around, it was kind of like the ideal scenario. The one double Anger Knuckle, the one Ballista, double Goliath, and then the last two cards I've got for my side deck, and of course, obviously for Gamma, but both of these can be used with Ultimate Slay, and then if you're up against a tier matchup, you can side in one of these out for an Abyss. And then you'll be able to get a double pop off the back of that, which can be very, very useful. But this one is the MVP when it comes to Ultimate Slayer. Like, the card's just nuts when that happens. So for those of you who don't know, you activate Ultimate Slayer, you send this, and get rid of your opponent's elf, because they can't respond with monster effects, they can't do anything. Then you've got the ability to banish this from the graveyard, to send an evil twin from the deck to the graveyard as cost, and then non-target send a card on the field to the graveyard. So if your opponent's got Toad, they're then forced to use Toad's effect, otherwise it could possibly get sent, and then they're going to lose. They've lost basically the form of 2 to 3 interruptions already, and then they're just relying on something like Carrot or Orange or the Smashers as well. So it kind of restricts what they then have the capabilities of. So it's such a good card to play around with. And that's it. There are a couple of changes that I would like to make. Like I said about the Vernusylph, there's probably like some changes I'd make to the engine itself. But I kind of wanted to play out Earth Machines, but I wanted to kind of change it up a little bit with the Vernusylphs and just to kind of see how effective they are with the deck. I mean, they're not bad. It's not the greatest, but it does give it a nice little edge that not a lot of people are expecting. So when you drop it, they're probably like, oh, he's playing, you know, Madolches, or he's playing this, he's playing that, and then you kind of go, ah, he's playing Earth Machines, crap. So it's still a really good engine. I like the idea behind it. I think it just needs some refining, and then I'll be able to provide another form or an update on it as well to kind of see where I can take it from here. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share. Till next time, guys, is absolutely always stay safe, and of course, happy dueling.